We're back. Finally. I've been getting heaps of questions on the Q&A like, oh, where's your podcast gone and where's all this sort of stuff going? I have had other shit to do. It's not that I haven't wanted to record these and come in here and spew absolute rubbish for an hour or two and help you guys learn some shit or whatever the fuck this even is. But yeah, I've been going through it hard, and I'll explain essentially like the backstory of what's been going on and why I haven't been posting. Obviously, Instagram hasn't stopped because that's quite easy to do, at least in my opinion. But even then, some of the days of being sick, I'm staring at the camera. I'm looking, excuse me. I'm looking at the lens and I'm like, I don't want to be fucking doing this at all. I've been super sick the last couple of weeks, and then we'll get into it in the backstory. But I've been working with a new business mentor as well, and he said that whenever he feels like that, he just gets in front of the camera. He's like, fuck, I can't be bothered doing this, eh? Because the thing is as well, like high performers and like top level athletes and CEOs and execs and all these people that you think like don't experience the things that you experience. You're like, oh, well, it must be so easy for them because they don't have doubts or insecurities or limits or anything like that. Everybody goes through it. Everybody goes through the exact same emotional bandwidth. Like obviously there's people that are concrete, poker face, all that sort of stuff, but they still feel things. They see I don't even know what it's called. Like, is it a school of ducks? No. What's a group of ducks called? I don't know. But you see like a little trail of ducks walking past. You're like, oh, adorable. Everybody thinks ducks are fucking cute. You look at them, you go, Sorry, this is going to be concurrent throughout this episode, but I decided to start doing it so that I can get back into a normal rhythm and force myself to get better. So anyway, the start of this year, I was flying. I was in great condition, had a bunch of fights booked, had a lot of stuff on the table, some big opportunities were starting to come through, and things were looking great. I go to a camp in April. I think I left on the 12th, and it was a 12-day camp. I think maybe I left a little bit earlier than that. Not important. And it was a camp run by these 10th Planet guys. The guy who organizes it's name is Phil Schwartz. Absolute legend of a guy, all the time in the world for Phil. He sends me this DM and he says, hey, we want you to be a part of this camp that we run. We run it every year. It's in Thailand and all that sort of stuff. And I get a lot of these messages, and usually I don't respond to them because it's a logistical nightmare. It takes so much time, and yeah, you get to meet people, you get to experience different things, but some of the time it's just not worth it. It's just not worth the squeeze. And I got chatting to him, and I responded to his initial message, and I was like, you know what? This guy seems like a pretty cool guy. I'll help him out. I'll come and teach at the camp. I think it'll be a good thing. And then 2 weeks out, I'm like, fuck, I don't want to do this, eh? And then a week out, I was like, should I pull out? And you can't let those thoughts come in, because when you say you're going to do something, you must do it. That's one of the rules that I live by and try and uphold to the very best of my ability. Sometimes I falter, but most of the time I'm pretty good with upholding my word. And even though I didn't really want to go, like I was talking to my missus, even on the way to the airport, I'm like, fuck, I can't be bothered doing this, eh? But tickets were sold based on the fact that I was going to be there, and you have to uphold that sort of thing, because then you let people down, you disappoint people that have paid good, hard-earned money that they've saved up for to learn from you and be around you. And this camp was very intimate, because the guys who run it come from one gym, and they basically bring their whole gym to come and have an experience once per year that everybody basically comes in for a holiday, and they do some Jujitsu on the side. And it was a really cool experience. And so I got there, and it was fantastic. Really, really enjoyed the full process. Made some amazing friends, met some really, really cool people, and did some really cool shit. Now, the one thing that wasn't cool about that camp was I was rolling with one of these guys, and he was one of the dudes that was quite strange. And you meet a lot of people in Jiu-Jitsu that are quite strange. It tends to attract a lot of the best and brightest who had no athletic ability, so they couldn't go into soccer or tennis or basketball. And it tends to attract some of the weirdest individuals you'll ever meet. And they're all fun and they all mean well, but there's some weirdos. Anyway, one of these guys I'm rolling with in one of the morning sessions, well, one of the quieter ones, because they'd gone out the night before and everyone stayed up till 4 a.m. and it was a 9 a.m. start. So I didn't really expect many people to be there anyway. But I was rolling with this guy and then I see a Band-Aid on the floor. And then I said to him, I was like, what's this? And he goes, oh, I'll stop rolling now. And I'm like, what the fuck? That's weird. And then I look at his leg and there is a 10-cent coin sized hole in this motherfucker's leg. And he somehow thought that putting a piece of plastic over a staph infection would be enough to stop that transferring. And so I immediately stopped the session. I go to my hotel, scrub the shit out of my entire body. And this was probably about 3 or 4 days out from the completion of the camp. And if you know anything about staph infections, it's usually based on stress. You will get it the most when you're deep into a training camp or you've got some stuff going on outside. Basically, it's your body's inability to deal with something that would usually be pretty easy to deal with. But you've got this added load, I believe it's called an allostatic load. I'm pretty sure that terminology comes from Why Zebras Don't Get Ulcers. Good book, by the way. Haven't read it in a long time, but very good book, very good concept. And there's also another book pertaining to this if you were interested, called The Body Keeps the Score. It's also a fantastic book. I forget the name of the author, but it's fantastic to give you an overview of how the body kind of works and how it responds to things. And so the island that we were on was called Koh Tao. And Koh Tao is a 2.5-hour ferry ride from Koh Samui. And Koh Samui, you have to fly into Singapore to get to, at least from Australia. And so it's a massive trip home. And I ended up at Singapore airport so the ferry only comes twice a day. And so you have to either get there stupid early or risk missing your flight. And so I took the stupid early route. And so I get to the airport in Koh Samui 7 hours early before my flight. Disaster. Absolute fucking disaster. And then so I get on the flight. I get to Singapore. It's 3:30 in the morning. I go and have some Popeyes at Singapore airport. It tasted like shit. That put me in a feral mood. And I've heard people rave on about it. I've heard Daniel Cormier talk about it. I've seen the ads where he's dancing with the chicken and whatever else. And I've had so many people, like even watching Spanion's food reviews while I've been sick. I watched a lot of TV while I've been sick. It's been kind of fucked. I've felt what it's like to be what I would deem like on the other side, like what a normal person would usually be going through if they weren't training twice a day. And it's been so fucking strange. I've really rather disliked it. This whole thing is certified that I'm doing the right thing with my regular routine, but we'll get into that later. So anyway, I have this Popeyes. It tastes like fucking shit. And I'm walking through the airport because I've still got like another 2-hour layover. And Singapore airport's gorgeous, by the way. If you've never been, it's phenomenal. They've got like water features and they've got indoor plants. And it's a very nice airport. One of the best. Get some water so I don't fucking keep coughing on you guys. Apologies. So I finally get to my gate. I'm sitting down. I'm watching some movies. I'm doing whatever I need to do. Get on the plane. Finally come home. And I feel disgusting. As you do after a multi-flight international tour. I get into training. I'm training well. I feel great. I think I've evaded the infection, which is fantastic news because usually you don't evade these things. 8 days I've been back for, and then I get this pimple on my elbow. And I'm sure if you guys follow me on social media, you would have seen the ads of the Athleterex stuff where my elbow had a fucking huge hole in it. It was disgusting. It was one of the most disgusting things I've done is pull the fibrous thing out of that. And I've done that over like maybe 6 sites on my body since April because it just kept coming back, and I'll explain why. But yeah, it was pretty nasty. It got very hot and it got very angry very quickly. So I knew it was staph, and I was like, all right, I'm going to have to go to the doctors or the hospital to sort this out straight away, because Thailand staph is very angry. Usually if you get staph in Australia, it's like pretty tame, pretty controlled. But in Thailand, because of the heat and because of the moisture and the humidity, it's just a breeding ground. And it doesn't matter how clean the gym is. It's got nothing to do with the gym, basically. Obviously, the guy that gave it to me was the main problem. But it doesn't really matter how well you keep the mats clean. Obviously, it helps a little bit. But there was a story of that MMA fighter that got this flesh-eating bacteria in his shin. He almost lost his leg. And it started out, I believe, as a staph infection that just got worse and worse and worse because it was mistreated. Anyway, so I get one on my elbow and I get one on my shin. And I was like, I've got to deal with two at the same time. So I went to the hospital because it's pretty serious. I got an intravenous injection of antibiotics. And then I got sent home with Keflex, which is a pretty common brand. What I didn't know is that they had tested me for what I was resistant to. And they didn't know at the time, but I was actually resistant to this brand because when I had skin problems prior to this, that was the one that they'd put me on and off, on and off, on and off, whilst I was coming off doxycycline for almost 12 months. So I've had a bad run with antibiotics. It's been a massive, massive pain in the ass. But anyway, so I didn't recognize that I was being misled to think that these would work. And then also B, I was secondly misled to think that I was meant to take 3 a day because that's exactly what it said on the label. You just follow the label. You don't know any better. And that was actually underdosed. It was meant to be 4 a day. So I wasn't getting the full benefit of the effects that would kill the infection. I was only getting all the negatives and the side effects from what antibiotics do to you in terms of your gut health and ruining your microbiome and all that sort of stuff. And so I come back to training, the infection went away, it looked fine, should be no problem. About 4 days into regular training again, I found another pimple on my elbow. And I'm like, it's probably just a heat rash or something like that from the Band-Aid that I'd been wearing, covering it up in training, wearing long sleeves, all that sort of stuff, just to make sure that it was gone, but just to make sure that I didn't spread it to anybody. Like those last little remnants, you can never be too sure. Lo and behold, it was another infection. And I went through this over 9 weeks. So from April to July, it was on, off, on, off, on, off. I think I went through about 6 or 7, maybe even 8 different infections. I would have to count. I think it was 2 on the elbow. Let me have a look. It was 2 on the elbow. It was 1 on the shin on the left side. And then it was 1, 2. So that's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, it was 8. It was 8. I got smashed. And the original reason is because I was underdosed from these antibiotics that basically did nothing. And then obviously when your gut microbiome and your gut health gets smashed, the nutrients of the food that you're eating aren't getting absorbed properly, so you're not recovering properly. And so that's another contributing factor to the stress of your body, which would cause reinfection. And so I was going through all of that, and then I'm like, all right, fuck the traditional route. I'm going to go homeopathic. I'm going to try and find some sort of alternate method. And I ended up finding these probiotics that would destroy the colonization of staph within your gut microbiome, or within your gut rather, because staph colonizes in 2 places, colonizes in your gut and in your nostrils, 3 places, and on your skin, because it's always on your skin and it doesn't really cause a problem until you get scratches. And that's why in Jiu-Jitsu we tell you to cut your nails to make sure that you're not scratching training partners. There's not holes in their skin for staph to enter and become a problem. And that seemed to be working, at least periodically. And then I would go back to training and I would come back again. And so I finally get to a point where I'm in Queensland for another camp, which means more flying, more logistics, more stress on the body, all that jazz. And I get another pimple on my knee and I'm like, fuck's sake, it's coming back again. I was able to stop the severity of that one because I ended up ringing a doctor through an online service. And I explained the whole story to him. I said, look, it's been this length. It's been these many problems. I've tried this, I've tried this, I've tried this. And he goes, you actually need to take this version. And it was like apocalipsis Colexin, or I don't remember what it was, but it was APO hyphen something. And luckily, where I was getting breakfast in the morning. There was a chemist next door, so I went to fill the script. I got the muriprocin, whatever the fuck it's called, the topical antibiotic. It's like a little gel, like a clear gel. And then I got these other antibiotics, and it was 2 a day for 10 days. And then as soon as 2 a day for 5 days, there was 10 involved. And as soon as I took that, it was gone straight away. So it was just malpractice on the front end. And then it was my stubbornness in the middle going, I'm not going to go the fucking traditional route again because they fucked me on the front end. And even the intravenous ones didn't seem to work that well. And then right at the tail end, I finally get this kicked. And then in between that, I ended up getting a back injury. I was training on Saturday morning. I went to go invert underneath one of my training partners. And I felt this twang in my back, kind of when you lean over and grab something and you're not really ready for it and it just goes. And I was like, oh, that's not good. And then the session had finished. So usually I'd sit down for Q&A, but it felt pretty bad. So I went into the showers, turned the heat all the way up, and then just sat there for a little bit and was struggling to bend over. I just felt this tightness, and it wasn't that bad, but I just felt this tightness. And I went off to go see my my best mate, Zach, to go visit his daughter and his family and all that sort of stuff. And they live in Coogee, and that's about an hour drive. And so the hour drive, the whole way there, kind of like moving, trying to figure out what the damage is. Go and see him. And I explained, my back feels fucked. And I'm doing some squats and sitting in the squatting position because that usually alleviates a lot of the pain. Anyway, so I come home from that, have dinner with my missus, wake up the next morning, and I'm like basically paralyzed. I can't move. I'm in a full dripping sweat, like my body's going into shock. And I was like, oh, that's not good. And so I roll onto my stomach, get off the bed, get on my knees, and then my elbows are on the bed, and I try and pivot, but my back won't accept any tension going through it. So it's completely useless to me. It was like my upper body and my lower body wasn't connected by anything. Finally mustered the strength to grab onto whatever I could to try and get me to stand. And I stood up and I was like, all right, I'm up. Now I need to fix this thing. And so my whole grand plan was if I could get downstairs, which was a bad fucking idea. If I could get downstairs, I could sort of get to the car and go and get it fixed. And I don't even know what I was trying to fucking do in the first place, but excuse me. I get halfway down the stairs and the sweating starts again, and I get that ringing in the ears when you're about to faint, and the walls start closing in and the black starts coming. And I was like, fuck, I'm going to drop here. So I grabbed the handrail and then planted my hand behind me and then just sat down on the stairs and went completely black for I don't know how long. And then came to, sweating violently, really bad. What was that? I'm forgetting what it was, but it was kind of like a Sammy Sprinkler thing where he's say it, don't spray it. It's just fucking spraying everywhere. That's what it felt like. It felt like I was in the shower, to be fair. And so I glid down the stairs on my butt, trying to wiggle down because I'm if I stand up, I'll probably go again. I crawl to the kitchen table, which is on the other side of the house. I should have gone to the lounge. But my theory was that the chairs at the table would have more support for them. And if I get on the squishiness of the lounge, I won't be able to get back up again. So I finally get to the table and I muster enough strength to be able to sit myself up. And I'm like, fuck me, this is pretty bad. So I rang my mate Rob, who's an osteo. And I said to him, I was like, man, what do I do? And he goes, it sounds like it's very pissed off and it's very angry. He goes, the only reason you're probably standing right now or able to walk somewhat is because of the amount of muscle mass you have keeping you stuck together. And he goes, don't do anything for the next few days. It's going to end badly. Your body's in a shock response because you've done something to a disc or a facet joint. And the facet joints are the ones that get really pissed off really quick. I've done that before. And so I knew kind of what he was talking about in a similar vein. And I said to him, I was like, oh, should I get in the bath or something to calm it down or anything like that? He's like, under no circumstances ever get in the bath, because if you release it, that's the only thing keeping you together from like shooting pain, sciatica, all that sort of stuff. It'll get 10 times worse. So anyway, now I'm dealing with this. I'm pretty sure I'm clear from staph infections at this point. Maybe I had one left. I think I had, oh no, I forgot about the armpit ones. Yeah, I had them in the armpit too, in my left armpit. And I was like, no, I'm going to get Kevin Randleman. This is where it ends. And the worst part about that was that I had one, no, I did have them at the same time. I had one on my right leg. I had one in my left armpit, and my back was fucked. And this is all like stress induced, all of it stress induced. None of this would have happened had I like treated it properly the first time under the right guidance. Anyway, so even I'm trying to sleep and my back's fucked, so I like can't lay on it flat because it's just not going to let me do it. I'm like, I can't calm down to get to a stage where I can sleep. And so I roll on my right side and my right leg is killing me in pain. And I try to roll on my left side, but then my armpit's fucking me up. It was just a disaster. So anyway, I get my back healed. Rob's an absolute magician. He's an absolute wizard. It gets done in 6 days. Last time I did the facet joint, it took me 6 weeks to get back to like proper lifting, proper training and all that sort of stuff. I managed to get back this time in 6 days through different methodologies and technologies that we ended up using. And I finally get back into training. And then it's 2 nights out from one night out from Subversion. It's just about to go to the weigh-ins. And I went to the dentist, finish up at the dentist, and I start getting this really strange pain in my side. And I'm like, oh, that's not good. And then it kind of moved back around to my kidneys. And I'm like, please, for the love of God, do not give me a fucking kidney stone right now. I was talking to my coach about it. And this was after the fact, but I said to him, I was like, when was the first time, because he's had kidney stones before. I said, when was the first time you had kidney stones? He's like, oh, I think 29. And I'm like, fuck, please, for the love of God, don't give me one of those, because I saw how much pain he was in when he had one of them. And if you ever had one, you know how fucking excruciating they are. And so it wasn't that, but then I woke up on the Saturday morning and it got worse. And it was like this stabbing pain in my right side, and it felt like it was in my kidney, but then also felt like it was around the front. Anyway, so I'm trying to figure out a solution so I can get to this fight in one piece. And I'm going and looking up all these different remedies for like stomach cramps, and I didn't know what it was. And I'm having herbal ginger teas and all this sort of shit. And I don't nap at all. I generally think it's a bit of a waste of time. Check back in with me when my daughter's here, but I don't nap. And I ended up having a nap that day. My missus had come home while I was sleeping, and she immediately knew something was off. She knows all my cues and all my tells. And I woke up from the nap and I wasn't able to shit that day. It was really concerning, because usually I'm like on the clock, usually like 8:45, about 1:30 when I get home from training, and no, 8:45, usually about 10 or so when I get to training, and then about 1:30. They're like the key times that I go. And it's usually like ready to go, body knows exactly what to do. Come home from breakfast on the Saturday morning and just couldn't. And I was like, oh, this isn't good. And so all these signs are coming up, and I'm like, oh, fuck's sake. Can I just have a super fight where I show up and I feel great? Just one, please. Anyway, so I woke up from the nap and I was finally able to go. It was like 3:40 in the afternoon. And I remember running up the stairs to my missus, like, yeah, I feel so much better, blah, 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 blah. And about half an hour later, the pain came back, and I was like, for fuck's sake. Anyway, so I'm warming up in the back. I spew maybe 2 or 3 times. Nothing's really coming up, but it's just like that feeling like you know you need to, and then so you do, but then nothing really comes. It's like not a satisfying one. And excuse me, go out, fight, perform like shit. Just can't pull the trigger. I had energy, but I didn't have the usual energy and the usual intensity, and ended up losing. Don't take anything away from my opponent. He did exactly what he needed to do to beat me on the night. And I go out the back, and then I just lay down on the floor, and that kidney pain comes back again. I'm like, fuck, this is pretty bad. Anyway, so talked to my coach for a little bit, ended up going home, slept pretty well on the Saturday night, woke up, and I got a baby shower to do on the Sunday. So we get ready for that. We start setting up at like 9 o'clock in the morning. It doesn't even start till 1. And my missus' mum has all like these decorations and shit that need to be organized and blah, blah, blah. And I'm doing runs to the shops for all the things they forgot and getting food and coffees and whatever else. And it's a massive day. Jump on the barbecue for like 2.5 hours. Food was fantastic. There's a place up the mountains called East Blackslands Butchers, and they are unbelievable. And they also have a sister company that does catering. I forget the name of the catering website. I should shout them out. But they did all the catering for the baby shower regarding the meat, and it was just unbelievable. It was fantastic. Like the chicken skewers, there was sausages, there was different flavored rissoles and all this sort of stuff. It was really, really good. Anyway, so we finally pack up from that, and I'm feeling drained as shit. Like if anybody's been to a baby shower, you know how exhausting they can be. A lot of social ability, a lot of games, and a lot of bits and pieces. Anyway, so we get home. I'm feeling pretty wrecked, and I've got no appetite, which is real strange. Anyway, so I have dinner. My brother, my sister, her partner, they came over for dinner. We had dinner. They left. Monday morning, I'm meant to fly out to Brazil Tuesday morning, and I wake up and I'm just absolutely flatlined. Like I've never been that sick in my entire life. And I had to text the organizer of the event, and I'm like, dude, I'm so fucking sorry, but I'm going to have to pull out of this event. I fucking hate doing this. I really hate doing this. If I thought that I could recover in time, I'd get on the flight tomorrow, but I just don't think I'm going to be able to recover. Like the way that this has been trending, the way that I'm feeling at the moment. And I just don't think I'm going to make it, especially with a 27-hour trip, all that added stress, all the other bits and pieces that were going to happen. And I ended up making the right decision, because the day after I woke up was worse. Day after I woke up, I was even worse. And I just kept digging a bigger fucking hole. And it was like nausea, headaches, wanting to spew, not being able to. Hadn't developed a cough at that time, which was really convenient, because needing to cough every 25 minutes every day is fucking bullshit. I hope none of you ever have to go through it, ever. It might sound like I'm playing this up a little bit, but it's been a disaster, an absolute disaster. And the annoying thing is, what I was talking to Nick about before he set up all the cameras and stuff, is that I haven't just been sitting like trying to wait for it to get over. I've been doing, I don't even know if I'm allowed to say it on the YouTube channel, if it'll get pulled down. I've been using the drug that they told you wasn't helpful, and it was a horse drug. And that's meant to be really good for like viral infections and all the stuff that I've been going through. So I've been smashing that. I've been smashing methylene blue. I've been smashing red light therapy. I went and did a sauna, made me worse, took that off the list. I've been doing grounding on the grass outside. I've been trying to get as much sun as humanly possible. I've been eating really well. I've been looking up all these different teas and all these different remedies and all these bits and pieces. I've been trying 50 different things just to kick this fucking thing. And 4 weeks later, none of it has got it right to the very end. Like I'm probably about 85% good now. And you should have heard me, like my editors, my social media guy, Liam, and Jake, obviously the YouTube guy, they've been talking about the fact they know where to cut the video, because the gain on the microphone goes all the way to red. It's usually like it starts at green down the bottom and it goes to yellow when it gets too loud, and then red is just unacceptable. And they said they knew where to cut the videos based on how much I was coughing. And some of those videos were just, they should have been thrown out. But we've got shit to do. We've got a mission. We've got a media mission to help motherfuckers get better in any capacity that I can possible, and give advice that I wish I had 5 years younger. And that doesn't stop rain, hail, or shine. As much as I didn't want to do it, Dan was talking about it in terms of his mentorship, and he said, man, when you sit down and you don't feel like you want to do it, think about it, it's not for you. It's not about you. It's about them. And if you withhold the valuable information that you have to give, well, then you're now stifling and hindering the growth of people that could use your advice to get to where they want to go. And that has been a really nice reminder for me to reiterate why it's important that I do what I do. And I don't really have a lot of feedback that comes through that reminds me of that. So you have to kind of remind yourself. I do get nice messages every now and then, but you can't rely on that to keep you going. It's got to be an internal reflection tool that you're like, all right, it's not about me. It's about everybody else that can gain something from this, that you know they're going to get better just by watching the video. And so you have to make it. And it's a duty. It's a standard. It's something that you hold yourself to. And I think that's really important. And one of the biggest lessons that I've gained out of this whole period, the reason I've described this is to take the lessons away from it and share it with you guys. One of the biggest ones that I've gained out of that is, although you feel like shit, although you feel like you're useless because you're taken away and you're stripped away from your regular routine. And this could be anything. This could be injury. This could be like sabbatical from work. It could be a mental health thing. It could be any facet of your experience. The most important thing is to think about, and I think the thing that has got me healthier during this process, even though it's taken so long, is actually thinking about how I can help others, even though I feel like shit, even though I don't want to do it, even though it's frustrating to get halfway through a sentence, have to do this, and then restart the same sentence 10 times. And you know that it's not the right delivery, and you know you look fucked because you haven't been training and you lost a bunch of weight, all this sort of stuff. But putting all that aside, being able to deliver something that might change somebody's life. And it genuinely has happened to me. Like, I've watched a video before and it was just a perspective shift on the way that I was looking at things. Some really good people that I usually go back to quite a fair bit. Alex Hormozi is a really good one. Naval Ravikant is a really good one. Scott Galloway is a really good one. There's a lot of people that I follow that are quite influential. Dan Martell, my business mentor, he's a really good one. They just shift your perspective and change the way you're looking at things so that you can operate at a better level and get better results, or get a result instead of getting no results. And I think that it's so important to accept the responsibility as a creator to be able to deliver that opportunity even when you're in the shit, even when you're stressed, even when you got stuff going on. Even Hormozi was talking about it this year. He was having a lot of health problems that he didn't talk about public facing, but knew that he still needed to get shit done. And so shit got done. And that's just the way that it is. And sometimes you got to sacrifice the gym time and all that sort of stuff because you physically can't recover from it, even though it's the thing you love most. And that's the second biggest lesson that I've gained from this, is that training jiu-jitsu and competing in jiu-jitsu is one of my favorite activities. That's the reason I've been able to be so consistent over these last couple of years. And it's the reason why I've had an unprecedented rise from starting having no idea what the sport is to where I am currently, is because I've really just enjoyed the process the entire time. I fucking love figuring things out on the mats. I love breaking things down and systemizing things and creating solutions to problems and thinking about things differently and changing perspectives. That's the best part for me. And having that not be available for the longest period in the entirety of my career, all in 3 months, I've missed more sessions than I had in 5 years by a factor of like 15. I hadn't missed more than 3 sessions in 4 years. And now I roll around to the 5th year and I've missed tens, probably like 40 sessions maybe, because I train twice a day, 5 days a week, and then once on the Saturday. And there was 2 options, basically. I could sit there and go, well, my favorite toy's been taken away from me, and that makes me really sad. And I could have also gone down the route as well on that same path of thinking, well, fuck, I'm going to lose so much progress and everybody's going to catch up and I'm going to lose skills because skills are depreciable and there's nothing you can do to maintain them while you're gone. And all these sorts of thoughts. And some of them have come up, but I'm proud to say that a lot of them haven't. And it's because I've built a mental model that purely fixates on what I can do about the situation. The circumstances are not up to you. The circumstances will lie where they lie, and there's nothing you can do about where you get placed in terms of that, like your environment or the people around you and all those sorts of things. Whether you get sick or whether you get injured, there's not really a lot you can do about that. And so focusing on that, all that does is drive up anxiety, worry, doubt, stress, depression, sadness, grief. All of those things are very unhelpful. Whereas if you focus on what you can do about it and start to commit to actions that are going to help pull you out of that, well, then you won't be experiencing all those negative emotions on the left-hand side, which means you don't have as much friction to getting towards the positive side of things and gaining lessons from these setbacks or obstacles or hurdles or whatever you'd like to call them. And I think truly why we go through any setback period or any obstacle is to open your mind to a new window of perspective so that you can gain the ability to become the person to seize the opportunity you've been asking for. And I'll explain it in another way. You set big goals and you expect them to be done in a certain timeline. And whatever you believe in, whether you believe in God or the universe or Allah or Vishnu or Buddha, it doesn't really matter. I am of the belief that you don't get to achieve the goal until you're the person that's ready to have it. And so an example of this was when I had my dog blanket business that I've told you guys about many times, and the ad account got shut down. That wasn't by accident. That wasn't just because I wasn't paying attention or I was not privy to scam emails. I'd had tons of scam emails in the past, and I usually always check the email address, because if it's 17 random letters at AOL.com, you can guarantee that it's a scam. Some of them get really good. Some of them do PayPal ... at paypal.com.au or whatever, or support ... And so you've got to be really clever to focus on those ones. But although I wanted the financial gain from what that business was providing, I wasn't ready for it. Not by any means. I would have squandered all of that. I would have fucked it up really badly. And learning the little lesson was probably the thing that I needed to elevate to go to the next level, instead of learning the catastrophic lesson, which might have stopped me from doing it in the future. Because you never know. You hear all these stories about businesses and people just put way too much into the beginning. I've got stories of people that I know that start inventory businesses, like a physical products business, and they buy 50 grand's worth of inventory, but they have no mechanism of delivery. That no one knows that they exist. They haven't built a social media. They haven't built a brand. They haven't built an email list. They don't even know if anyone wants the fucking thing. And now they're 50 grand in the hole. And that's a rough lesson to learn, especially if it's life savings or an inheritance that you're like, all right, I'm going to put this money to good use. Well, you fucking didn't. And it's because you weren't ready to achieve the thing, because it probably would have destroyed you. Like Ilya Tapuria has a really good saying on this, and he says, he goes, I know that God will fulfill my plans, because if they're not fulfilled, it would have been the thing that had destroyed me. So like if I hadn't worked as hard as I'd worked to achieve it, I don't deserve it, and therefore it won't come to fruition. And the reason he knows with conviction that he's going to achieve a certain thing on a certain timeline is because he works his ass off to achieve it. So he's ready for it. And I think that's a really important thing to think about whenever you're going through an obstacle or anything like that. And I start to think about this in my recent history of the last 4 weeks. And I've needed something to reignite the passion that I have for the sport. Because I'll be honest, during the first couple of months of this year, I was going to training, and I was still planning, I was still learning things, I was still doing the normal things that I do, but it didn't have that same oomph. It didn't have that same energy that I usually bring to these sessions. And maybe that's a little bit of complacency or something like that, but it definitely started to creep in. And I've only noticed that in retrospect of having so much time off. And so now when I go back, I'm going to have such an appreciation for the art that I get to commit to every single day. It's not a given that I should be able to train 2 days a week. It's a privilege. It's something to be appreciative of. Not everybody gets to do that. I know a lot of people who want to. I get hundreds of messages a month, and a lot of them are about, man, how did you do it? How did you become financially stable while chasing your dream? And how did you go through that period? A lot of them are about that. And that's because they want to train as much as humanly possible because they've got something they love and they've got a deep desire to make that their career and make that their thing that they do. And I think I was taking that for granted for a little bit, to be completely honest. And the universe has funny ways of showing you things when you are being stubborn. And it has an ability to put the brakes on you, to chuck a handbrake on and make sure that you slow down a bit and really reflect and take inventory of your life, of your actions, and of all the things that you're committed to. And even things as simple as taking some time to just sit outside. And it was my anniversary, got engaged over last weekend. And my missus wrote me this beautiful card, like this handwritten card with different colored textures and photos from where we've been all over the world and the things we've accomplished and done together in a very short period of time. And she said to me, my favorite dessert is lemon tart. Fucking love lemon tart. It's so good. And she couldn't find one, so she got me lemon cheesecake instead. And lemon cheesecake's pretty fucking good. It's close because lemon tart and cheesecake are my top two. And so if you combine those two, it's very good. It's very fucking good. And throughout this sickness, I haven't really been able to do much. And I didn't really have an appetite for so long. And so I needed a way to get calories. So it was a perfect little synchronization for me to justify why I'm eating shit food. You can justify anything, but I genuinely did need the fucking calories because I haven't been doing anything and losing weight as a result of that. It'll come back as soon as I start training. I'm not worried about it, but yeah, I've been cognizant of implementing some strategies to make sure I can mitigate it as much as possible. And it was one afternoon, the sun had just come out. I just walked my little lemon cheesecake slice out there and just fucking sat down on the grass, looked at the sky and smashed it into my face, and it was delicious. It was one of the best desserts I've ever had. And physically, it was just from Coles. It was just like a random fucking cheesecake. It didn't have any significance, aside from the fact that my beautiful partner got it for me. And it was to commemorate our anniversary, and she went out of her way to go get it. But it was the fact that I just sat there in the sunshine, in my backyard of the nice house that I live in, and just enjoyed that for what it was. And it's something I've struggled with historically. And I was talking to a mate of mine, Mark. He was my first business mentor. I've talked about him quite a fair bit on the show. And he talked about the fact that he's always had this internal struggle to hit the off switch. There's always media that needs to be created. He runs a coaching business as well. There's always media that needs to be created. There's always scripts that need to be written. There's always systems that need to be built. There's always things that require you to be productive every second of the day. But that is a steaming pile of shit. That's a lie. And it took him 40 years to learn it. And he goes, not only have I stopped doing that, and not only when I've stopped doing that have I become more productive, But I've also started to enjoy the little things a little bit more, like playing basketball with my eldest and looking after my daughters and cooking dinners for the family and really just enjoying what is, not what's to come, not what like I'm aiming at or the targets or anything like that. And I think that's one of the biggest lessons, the third biggest lesson that I probably got out of this whole experience is that if you're always looking ahead, you miss the most important time, which is the only time that exists, which is now. And it sounds all wishy-washy, but it really isn't. Like, take the time to just turn the music off instead of like listening to a podcast or turning the music on for the shower or the car drive home. Just sit in silence for a little bit. Just stare at the sun through the window as you're driving down the highway and feel what it's like to do that instead of going, I need to cram this podcast into my head because if I don't learn this lesson, then I'm going to forget anyway in 20 minutes. Well, then my life's going to be completely different. That's the trap of it too. When you're always on the treadmill, you're always learning new things. You're always reading new books. You're always ingesting new things, but you don't remember any of it. Like, you're not actually learning. You're just mentally masturbating. And until you write notes and actually deconstruct it and put it into a formula or a roadmap or a blueprint, then you're not really learning. And so is that better than listening to talk radio? Yeah, probably. But every now and again, just turn it off and just sit in silence. It's really underrated. And I think most of this is a taste of what I'm going to be experiencing when my daughter gets here in a couple of weeks. It's gone so fast. It's absolutely ridiculous. And I talk to a lot of parents. I was talking to a guy the other day. His eldest is 18. And he goes, man, I feel like I was holding him yesterday. Like, I didn't know that when the last time I was going to pick him up was going to be, and I feel like it was yesterday. It's crazy to think about. And I think we get so wrapped up in achieve, be productive. Look to the next thing. What's on the calendar? What are we doing this weekend? What's for dinner? I think we really get hyper fixated on that far too much. And I'm assuming, I don't know this yet because I'm not there yet, but I'm assuming kids are a great way, at least initially, to sort of break that mold, because all of your attention has to be on them and your partner and supporting them and facilitating a good environment and a smooth and efficient environment for them. Like, I'm obviously not going to be breastfeeding, but I can help around that. That's going to make a big difference. Because guys, I got this advice from one of my best mates, Brad. Guys are pretty much useless in the beginning. We don't really have a lot to do in the beginning because the mum's the one that's the primary carer. They've got the bond and it's very strong. And sometimes even I've read that the dad can experience some sort of like rejection from the kid because it's kind of like, well, I don't know you. I know who this one is because I was inside of her for 9 months, but you've kind of been the voice on the outside, or maybe you've been the rubbing on the stomach or something like that, but there's still not that closeness there. And he gave me that advice. It's actually very good. And he said, don't feel like you're not playing a role because you are playing a role. It might be better to think about it in terms of you supporting your partner as the most important role, instead of focusing on the fact that you're like not able to feed your kid, or like maybe they don't want you when they're crying, or some sort of thing like that. And these are the obstacles and the challenges that I'm going to welcome, because you just learn more about yourself. And especially with like sleep deprivation and irritability and all that sort of stuff, and your relationship's going to be tested because you guys are at each other because of lack of sleep and all these sorts of things. And I think having a good perspective of the slowdown and really just absorbing it for what it is, and really accepting that if you just focus on what to do currently at the present moment, and how cool it is, by the way, a lot of people poo-poo parenthood at the very beginning, and they're like, oh, it's so fucking hard and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, of course. Like, did you expect it was going to be fucking easy at the very beginning when you completely have your routine flipped upside down and you have a brand new entity that you have to take care of that is half you, half your partner, and requires 24/7 surveillance so that it doesn't die? Like, did you think that that was going to be easy? I would have to fucking have a look at your barometer for what easy and hard actually is. But I think if you look at it with a fresh perspective and you think how insane it is and how beautiful of a process it is that we get to do something like that. We get to create another human out of seemingly nothing. It still blows my mind to this day. It still blows my mind. And I think it will the entirety of her and my many other children's existences. And the fact that, like Jimmy Carr said this, and I think it's really, really poignant, and he's eloquently said, and he said, I, in my 20s, lost all kind of faith in like a higher power. And he said, I immediately became atheistic. And then I thought I'd won the game. He got to his 40s or his 50s or however old he is now. And he goes, I thought I'd won the game because I'd like got the career that I love and I'd got a partner, but I didn't have the weighing down of dependence, and I can kind of go wherever I want, do whatever I want. I can afford whatever I want as long as he pays his taxes. If you know that story, it's quite funny. Oh, good neck crack. And then he goes, and then I realized that the afterlife are the children that you bring into the world because they'll live longer than you. They'll take your lessons and your experience and your wisdom that you've bestowed upon them towards so many other people, to so many other people rather. And that will carry on after you after you die. And then their kids will do the same thing for them, hopefully with the same lessons that you gave them, or many of the lessons that you gave them. And then their kids will do the same thing. And so technically, even if you don't believe in the higher power or the afterlife or anything like that, your kids are that version of the afterlife that you know for certain exists. And it's a really fascinating concept. You can tell he's quite a deep thinker, and most comedians are, because they have to find the cracks in societal norms to make jokes about them and understand them very deeply to be able to make fun of them. Because without the context, it wouldn't make any sense. And the way that they adjust their jokes for each city that they go to, knowing that if he tells a British joke in America, it's probably not going to land as well. Andrew Schultz is one of the best for that. He tells Arab jokes when he's in Arabia. He tells African jokes when he's in Africa. It's very, very fascinating to watch. Obviously, the Australian ones are easy. You just pick on people walking into Bondi Beach with full jeans on and whatever else. All of them tend to do that. I've been to a couple of comedy shows and they go, yeah, what's the deal with that? It's funny. Can't really do much about it. It is what it is. Uber drivers love swimming in their jeans. There's not much you can do about it. And I think it's such a fascinating concept to think about. And one thing that I think about a lot regarding parenthood and me being incumbent upon that journey is the fine line between being like their friend and also being a leader. That's one of the things I think about a lot. Because you want to be friendly to them, of course, but then you've also got to teach them what the right and wrong is and what not to do and what to do. And I think it comes down to your own personal development. I really do. And the way that I watch my mentor currently, Dan, lead, in terms of even something as simple as getting a team together to work on a project. Instead of going in there as the boss, as like the fucking big boss and going, all right, this is how I want it done. And then them feeling belittled by that, or not really a part of the process, or maybe even under a bit of a tyrannical thumb or a dictatorial thumb. He was doing a role play on one of the coaching calls, and he said, all right, let's run through this. And he was asking, he's like, look, I know that I'm the owner of this place, but you're the warehouse leader. Like, you're the gun on the team. And you know the problems way better than I do because you're here every single day doing an amazing job. And he's not like trying to gas him up so he can get what he wants. He's like genuinely interested in that person coming along for the ride. And he goes, where do you see this place in the next 12 months if we put in all the right systems and all the right pieces just start working for each other? And so they answered and they said, oh, I see it being like this and like this and like this. And he goes, is that going to get you to where you want to go as well? Maybe it's a promotion, or maybe it's a raise, or maybe it's them being able to afford a piece of nice jewelry that they want to afford themselves, or a nice car that they want to afford themselves, or something like that. He's very invested in bringing them along for the ride, that their goals be fulfilled by the same mission as his goals. And he goes, is that going to get your goal fulfilled in the next 12 months? And they go, yeah, it is. And so because you're the expert here, I want you to figure out a plan of how we can achieve that. Like, what are the top 7 priorities that we must do and build to make sure that happens? And then when you figured out the top 7, let's prioritize them to 3. Because if we got more than 3 priorities, we don't really have priorities. But we've got to make sure that we list it all down to make sure that we're looking at it in a good perspective. And then we'll take those top 3 and really nail down on those top 3 we know is going to get us there. Then I want you to go away and think about a plan of how we can execute that. And so when you're watching him do this in terms of leadership, the person who's the warehouse manager is being brought along for the ride the entire way. And they feel encouraged and empowered because they're directly responsible for the process coming together. And obviously with leadership, it comes with adjusting a little thing here or there, or helping with experience and say, oh, why do you think it would be done this way? I think it might be done a little bit better if we tried this. Have you considered this? But the entire time, it's them being brought along for the ride. And watching that from somebody who's like a very successful CEO makes so much sense in terms of adopting that to parenthood. And I've watched a lot of parenting videos, obviously, because baby's on the way and all that sort of stuff. And some of these guys that do really, really well at dealing with the many fires that come about, they ask questions. They don't become a dictator and force things to happen and say that it must be done this way and you're wrong for doing that and blah, blah, blah. There might be a time and a place for that if they're putting themselves in physical danger, like they're going to touch the stove or they're going to burn themselves on the oven or they're going to run out into traffic. Sure. These are extenuating circumstances and they're hopefully the minority. But for most things, I think, and I haven't done it yet, but this is my presumption, if you ask them what they think should be the process, you build their self-esteem, you build their confidence, you build their ability to problem solve. And that was something that I never got as a kid. I kind of had to figure it out on my own. I was always under the dictatorial thumb. Dad wasn't really a self-developed individual, nor is he now currently, but did the best that he could. Don't harbor any resentment, anything like that. I don't think that's a useful. I don't think that's a useful use, to say a poor sentence grammatically, a useful use of your time. I don't think looking back on the past and trying to cast blame for things is very useful. I think accepting the circumstances as they lay and then doing what you can about them. And it's like, oh, okay, well, I didn't get that, so I had to teach myself how to do it, and I've taken on that responsibility so I can deliver that to the other people in my life. So actually, what I should be is grateful for that experience because then it's been able to teach me how to become the person to not give that experience to other people. And that, I think, is the most important part about living, about existing. Like, I genuinely was a fuck up through 16 to, I want to say 23, 24, maybe 23 probably was the cutoff point, about when I started Jiu-Jitsu. And right around that time, we were in the lockdowns, and I was playing a shitload of Call of Duty. I was burning daylight trying to get those sweats in those lobbies that would just absolutely clean you up, because they got computers that go at a faster frame rate and there's nothing you can do about it. And I was burning a lot of time doing that. And I started to hate who I became as an individual because of that, because I knew I was destined for so much more than just playing Xbox. I knew it. In my fucking soul, I knew it. And I watched my dad do the same thing. I watched him piss away like so many holidays that we went on just because he wanted to play fucking Grand Theft Auto on the PlayStation. One day, I told the boys, I was like, this is going to be my last game. And they're like, yeah, okay, fuck, we'll see you tomorrow. And I was serious. I pulled the cords out of the wall. I packed the Xbox up. I put it in the garage, and I've never touched it since. Not once. That's a lie. In the skit that I did with Granny Flat Comedy, that was the only way that I could get the Care Bear part onto the screen. So I have touched the Xbox since, but only for one very specific reason. If you haven't watched that, go and follow the boys at Granny Flat Comedy. He is a younger brother of an old mate of mine. His name's Dave Hoey, and Nick is the other guy. And they've got a whole team that work together. But my God, they make some funny skits. It's brilliant. It's brilliant stuff. And I was fortunate enough to be a part of one of them, which was really cool. But I hadn't touched it since. And it was the decision that I knew I was better than that. And it was the same thing when I quit alcohol 9 years ago as well. I went through a rough period. I made some very bad decisions, and I just decided that all of them had a common denominator. It was the fact that I was drunk when I was doing dumb shit. And so the easiest way to stop doing dumb shit is to stop drinking. And I did. And apart from a couple of instances, 21st birthdays and return home parties and whatever else, where I foolishly allowed peer pressure to get the best of me. Again, lessons, grateful for the experience, but haven't touched it since. And that's just the decision that you uphold, and it becomes your new norm. And the same thing with when I decided to start posting twice a day on social media. I've not missed a day. I have not missed a day in almost over a year. I believe it was August last year when I decided to do that, because I was away for ADCC. Or I just started before I'd left for ADCC. Twice a day, every day, and I haven't missed a day. And I will do that for the next 10 years. Easily, and then beyond. Until the strategy completely changes and the algorithm's different or whatever. No, I'm still going to do it. Fuck that. That's an excuse. See, hold yourself accountable, set the standard, commit to the standard, make it the new norm. And I think that's an important part about being a leader. I think what also supplements asking your kids questions, or asking your employees questions, or asking your students questions, asking your teammates questions, asking your partner questions. I think what supplements that is that if you are to give advice at any point in that period, it must be something that you already do yourself. You cannot give advice to the actions that you do not commit to. I don't expect students who come into my program who pay good money for mentorship from me if I didn't also pay good money for mentorship. I would be a hypocrite. I do not accept being a fucking hypocrite. I don't. How am I meant to get them to invest heavily in getting better in one area that they love if I don't do the same thing? I've got three different fucking business coaches at the moment. One is like strictly business, one's YouTube, and then one is like short form stuff. But it's leading from the front that's the most important part, because you can't expect others to do what you're not willing to do. It's like the fat guy giving you fucking diet advice, like your uncle who's overweight, and he goes, oh yeah, fuck, you should do keto. You're like, bro, you're about to break that chair. Why are you telling me how I should be losing weight? I'm 50 kilos lighter than you. That doesn't hold any water. It doesn't hold any weight. It doesn't make any sense. Or it's like the family member that wants to give you business advice. They've never run a business in their entire life. And they're like, oh, well, you're taking too much of a risk and you shouldn't put all your eggs in one basket. Really, Sally? Really? Is that what you did? Is that what you did to get you where you are now? Interesting. Because you're not driving the car I want to drive. You're not living in the house I want to live in. And you don't have the life that I want. You never go on holidays. You don't enjoy your lives. And quite frankly, you're not that fun to be around because you don't really commit to anything difficult. Like, maybe don't have this conversation at family dinner and ruin Christmas like I've done many times. But you get the idea. And so I think one of the final biggest lessons that I've gained from this entire period is you got to be willing to push through as a leader and really commit to the things, even amidst obstacles and hurdles and all those sorts of things. Like I haven't missed a day on anything I've committed to aside from training, because I know that if I go back to that too early, it's going to ruin my recovery and I'm going to be in a bigger hole than it's worth. And even Hamzat said that in one of the videos that I saw during the week. He said, he goes, you got to push through everything but sickness, because he gave himself really bad illnesses where he had like a lung infection or something, or maybe a liver infection. I can't remember exactly what it was, but he was in hospital for like 6 weeks. And it was because he was overtraining and his body was sending him signals that he's just ignoring, training 5 times a day, doing skipping ropes at 4 in the morning, not sleeping properly, not really getting that much food in because you're cutting weight. And tell you, the body keeps the score. It's gonna keep you in line. And so you got to learn to slow down, listen to it, accept what's going on, not ignore it like I did, like a stubborn cunt, and really just take inventory of what it is that's happening. I think they're the biggest lessons that I've gained from this period. And the beautiful part about all of this, the best part about all of it, is that every time I've had a 2-month or 3-month setback period, the climb upwards afterwards is like this in every facet. And I think it really is founded in the appreciation. I really believe that, because I look back on all the moments and you appreciate your health so much more when it gets taken away from you. You appreciate training so much more when it gets taken away from you. Even how much you appreciate jumping into your own bed after being away on holidays. Jumping into your own car after you've taken nothing but Ubers for like 2-3 weeks. They're the moments. They're the moments that make it all the more sweeter. And life is those moments. You just got to search for them. Sometimes it's hard to find, and the universe or whatever it is will help you get the magnifying glass out, because it'll take something off you. You're not paying attention to this. You need to fucking look at this a little bit deeper. Or you need to start paying attention to this instead of that, because you're moving down the wrong path. You're going to self-destruct over there. Handbrake, go over here, appreciate what you got, and be happy to move forwards. I'm not saying don't have goals. I'm not saying push the pedal down. I'm not saying you can't push the pedal down. Have goals. Strive for way more than you think you can do, because I guarantee you'll get at least close. And if you don't hit the target, you'll be far further than you thought you could go. But enjoy it. Enjoy the process of what it is. Have fun with it. Really get with it. They're my thoughts. That's the story of why I've been away. I know I'm going to get better. I already have gotten better as an individual because of this experience. Cannot fucking wait to get back to training. It's going to be glorious. New gym too. We moved gyms. So all very exciting things. Daughter's on the way. She's going to be here soon. Life's good. You just got to see it as it is. enjoy. Good to be back. Good to see you back. Peace.